Welcome to the Security Cocktail Hour. I'm Joe Patty.
I'm Adam Roth.
Sure.
Adam, we have not one, but two guests today. So we're
Sure.
going to have double the fun.
I
We
doubled the
have,
editing.
yeah, double the editing. It's all on me. I know. We have Maria Santos. Hi, Maria.
Hi, how are you, Joe?
Hi, it's good to have you. And we have Eugene Giordano. Eugene?
Hey, how are you?
Okay, great. And we are very excited to have you here because regular listeners will know I'm a car guy. I love cars, which means I hate car thieves and hate to see them using all this wonderful whiz-bang technology we've got to steal cars, frankly, whether it's high-tech or low-tech. And you have both, I forgot the name of the company you're with, Eugene, but yeah, for those listening, he's wearing a company shirt. Your
I know.
company is Autoscope, and you've got a pretty innovative approach to getting back at the bad guys, and you have a lot of experience in the field. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do
Of
and how
course,
you're
of course.
involved?
Hello, everyone. So, Maria and I co-founded a company called Autoscope, which is a vehicle intelligence platform. And what we do is we enable law enforcement to track and recover stolen vehicles through what's called the telematics system. Every vehicle nowadays is pretty much like a phone in your pocket, but every vehicle is a computer, which allows anything and everything to be GPS tracked. So we enable law enforcement to GPS track every vehicle through the factory installed telematics.
That's amazing, because I've read all this stuff about how the car's a phone with wheels now, like you said, and that it's got all these fancy electronics, and that the car companies are using it to track you and to get your data, and they're going to use to train their AI models and everything. But you can also tap into that for something more useful, as far as I'm concerned.
hmm Absolutely. Specifically the GPS. Um, it's through consent. Once the vehicle is stolen, an officer responds on scene and just say, "Hey, do you have a connected service application?" Which is our consent model. Once consented by the owner, it enables tracking of the vehicle, and officers are able to go on scene, track the vehicle, and attempt in recovering the vehicle.
Hey, Joe, would that work on your
Yes,
Porsche?
actually, it won't.
I
I
know.
I hate to say, I drive older cars that don't have all the electronics and everything. Actually, my newest car is a 2014, and it does have Bluetooth and it does have GPS, but it doesn't have CarPlay. It doesn't have a really sophisticated, simple system, and it's got like the old school Bluetooth where it just connects and that's it. It doesn't do very much. I mean, does it work on a car like that, or is that like too old and too dumb for it?
It's not that it's too dumb. It's a little bit older. Connected service really came into play 2017 and up models or OEM brands 27 and up, 2017 and up. Usually, vehicles manufactured after 2017 have a telematics unit. And telematics unit could be anything. It's pretty much the brain of the car. It tells how many miles you've driven. It also displays, odometer. It displays tire air pressure, things like that.
Does
One
it
of
keep
the
track of how fast I'm going? Because I don't want
Yes,
that. Oh,
yes,
that's not
yes, it
good.
does.
Okay.
Yes,
Yes, it
exactly,
does. Yes.
exactly,
That
exactly,
that's for
Watch
the
out,
insurance
Joe.
Uh-oh.
companies. The insurance companies.
I
Exactly,
thought I was too
exactly.
old. Mine was too old to have to worry about it. Oh, shoot. Gosh. Okay.
Exactly, exactly,
So,
exactly.
I was say, so Joe, the question is, Maria and Eugene, what got you? What made you think of this? What was the prop? What was the catalyst? Why?
Well, we're both in law enforcement, so we saw a need and we saw it to fill it. The need was that a lot of investigations that involved auto theft, they just died out right after the vehicle left the scene. I mean, imagine an officer going on scene, somebody got their vehicle stolen, and the officer's like, okay, when did you lose when did someone steal your car? Oh, about half an hour ago. That car is probably 10 miles from the scene. The officer is not going to leave his or her jurisdiction to go get that car. So by the time one of us recovers it, it's, because someone found it because of the plate hitting stolen. And it's usually about a month or so from the date that it was stolen. And because of that, we said, hey, there's got to be a better way. There's got to be a way to track the vehicle without having a third-party device installed in the vehicle, or without, using another type of device. And we saw that the vehicles were being built in with GPS already. Why not access that very thing?
Yeah,
And it's been
don't the
helping
bad
out.
guys know where those things are usually installed? And I've heard they like rip them out right away, that they know what to do about them.
It
Yeah.
changes. Yeah, I'm,
Changes,
I'm
yeah.
sorry, I'm going to let Eugene.
So
It changes every year.
yeah, it's usually a seasoned perps. I myself, I'm in forensic investigations, so we process a lot of those type of vehicles. What I've realized personally is that a lot of those telematics or GPS units are not ripped out. It's usually the seasoned perps, the organized theft personnel, or the persons who are really experienced in that are ripping it out. Most of the times when perps are stealing vehicles, they want to keep everything intact, because the moment that they start messing in those areas, the value of the vehicle goes down. But what I find from personal experience is that a lot of these telematics units are still installed. But I think the true purpose for us is really trying to access that vehicle and the GPS and the telematics as soon as possible. Even if at some point the perpetrator is going to remove the telematics or GPS device from a vehicle, we want to track it as soon as possible. Hopefully, that could get us a GPS ping before they remove that telematics or GPS system out of the vehicle. So time is of essence.
So I live in Staten Island, and I've seen some of the most. I don't have an expensive car. I mean, my car's I think worth about maybe $5 less than Joe's, and I'm kidding. Um, but I know that they're using sophisticated technology. They're using parabolic mics, and they're turning on the signal, looking in the house with the parabolic stuff, radioing it, and I think it's safe to say most of these people that are stealing the car are usually younger kids that want to get it from A to B. They get the cash in hand and they take off. They're like, screw that. I'll get away no matter what, and that's what they're doing. So I don't think they're spending time to dismantle it. But don't get me wrong. The more sophisticated, the more expensive, $250,000, maybe $500,000 exotic cars, maybe they're doing that. But the BMWs and the Mercedes and maybe the Porsches that are, you know, not so expensive but not cheap, they're probably just getting in there. They want to get away from the house and they want to take off.
Yeah,
It's funny you
absolutely.
mentioned you mentioned Staten Island. That is the home of relay attacks and key cloning.
Yes.
Because you figured
Really?
someone's gonna have their car parked in the driveway and someone's gonna be passing by. You want to get a device to do a relay attack on the vehicle, which is essentially someone stands by the house, maybe hopefully close to the key fob, and then the other guy standing by the car, and then it kind of makes the car think that the key fob is near the car, and that's how they kind of take off.
Well, that
So
makes sense because in Staten Island, the
yes.
houses are like, the size of a postage stamp. So yeah,
Whoa, whoa, whoa,
like,
whoa,
like,
Joe,
like your
Joe,
car
Joe,
parked in your driveway. Is it like physically like 3 feet from your kitchen table
Joe,
through the
stop,
wall
Joe.
or what?
I don't live near your expensive mall, but so I'm a little bit crazy. I admit it. Like I have cameras on my house, I have sensors, I have everything. I thought about putting in a spectrum analyzer, looking for those things next, just for the hell of it. I mean, I yeah, stop. I even have drones. I'm ready to strap a spectrum analyzer on the drone and do some patrols looking for that. I'm crazy, but I love that science. Joe knows that.
Yeah.
Everything helps.
That
Okay,
it
so let me
does.
ask you then, because we've done some shows on Flipper Zero and hacking devices, and
No.
you mentioned the replay attacks where someone, I guess when they use the key fob or whatever, they steal the signals, do a man in the middle or clone it and then use it later. Now I had heard that, or at least maybe when we were buying the Flipper Zero, this may be out of date, that a lot of those attacks don't work anymore, but it sounds like they do. So do the bad guys keep innovating and cracking all these?
It really depends. With the flipper, I know they've made some upgrade into their technology where it doesn't allow you to. It also depends on the type and the brand of vehicle. What we've seen most prominent is the relay attacks. They're buying these devices online. You could buy one for maybe $6,000
Yeah, yeah.
now, You can buy them. Perpetrators have access to it. They purchase them, and that's how really they're stealing cars. And it's usually your most luxury vehicles, your BMWs, your Mercedes Benz, your Lexuses. And it's usually done, and they could have your car out of your driveway in 60 seconds or less. That's how quick it works. It's all about emitting that signal from your key fob that's placed on the kitchen table, and really emitting that signal to the vehicle, and it's pretty quick.
So Joe, this goes back to the whole thing we were speaking about with your Mac machine, your SDR, software defined radio. When we were talking about drones, you can literally use a Pringles type can, point it at the car, get the signal, replay it. We were talking about that with Luke Canfield. If you have SDR, you can buy the app, replay it, and it's almost plug and play, but it's a lot of money, man. Some of these things are $20,000 of software.
But that's infuriating to me because, you're talking about a man in the middle attack, where for everyone, I'm sure everyone watching knows, but, where you put yourself between the two and one side thinks they're talking to the other side, but they're really both sides talking to you. In cyber, there are defenses against that. That's not a new thing. I mean, these cars, they just not have any kind of, decent, useful cryptography in them. This is a totally solvable and solved problem.
More expensive, Joe. More expensive, Joe.
You're talking about expensive cars. You know what the insurance is on those cars? I mean, my God. Sorry, I'm trying to put you out of business here. I don't mean to.
No, Joe,
it's fine. This is personal.
The only way your car's getting towed is with a tow truck. Your car doesn't even have a radio in it.
I'm actually glad you touched on that, Joe, because when you think about it, what our software does, what our app does, rather, is that it doesn't matter how the OEM, the vehicle manufacturer, makes the vehicle. At the end of the day, we're accessing that technology, whether or not they're improving it or changing it for, to deter auto theft somehow. We're still accessing that very GPS. 2025, 2026, even the 2027 models that are going to come out soon, we're accessing that very thing that's already built in there.
So think of it this way, Joe, right? You have a telephone. Your telephone has GPS. You don't want to be tracked. What do? You put it into a Faraday bag. Everything can be defeated, but the good news is that this app, this product, it's going to keep the honest people kind of honest, right? I know.
Well, I get it. Look, I know very well it's all a cat and mouse game that, they fix one thing, they find another way to get in and all. But I don't know. It just disturbs me that when there's something that, to me is glaringly obvious. I mean, if I'm totally wrong on this, someone put in the comments, send us hate mail. I like hate mail.
I'll
tell us we're wrong. But there's stopping replay attacks in cyber is not that huge of a deal.
I think what it is that like our phones, our cell phone devices, you constantly got to update it so it could keep up with time. Usually it's some type of reasoning why they're updating applications on our phone, or we're updating our Apple device. I think in the OEM sense also, it's a lot of money to keep up with these safety features. And OEMs are in the business of selling vehicles. They're not necessarily in the business of, updating or creating new software, preventing cyber attacks, etc. And I think that's what's keeping them. And that's why they don't want to really get into the game of creating some type of software that keeps perpetrators from, doing these relay attacks. It's very costly. You got to update these systems constantly on a yearly basis, maybe every 6 months, because technology is only evolving. As technology evolves, it's costing them money to keep up also. And it's millions, sometimes billions of dollars to do that. So
I have a question for you, Maria and Eugene. How many times, so you guys are active in law enforcement. I'm sure you've gotten into some pursuits, or you've cut somebody off. You go to arrest them. You check their pockets. Anything really incredible?
Have you ever done the pit maneuver? You guys must have done the pit maneuver.
You've done the pit maneuver, Joe.
Was it fun? You must have done it, right?
Joe, I've done it in EMS. No, I'm kidding.
You did it. Oh.
Long story short, I did, but that's another story. But
God, I don't want to
Maria,
get in your ambulance. Christ. And
so Maria and Eugene, like you turn around, you stop somebody, you cut them off, whatever, you go to arrest them, you open their pockets, they're car thieves. What's the most craziest technology that you have found in their pockets or in their possession? Anything?
So, um, we had. Oh, I've definitely responded to recovered stolen vehicles, and I've actually recovered the relay attack devices that they use, and we'll process those for any fingerprints, if whatever the case may be. So I have recovered quite a few of those. I've actually recovered where some of the perpetrators, they go into these Honda Accords and they're removing the telematics. I think in the past I've recovered a Honda Civic, a Honda Accord, and there was a telematics device that was recovered inside the vehicle, and it actually didn't. It actually wasn't from the vehicle that we were processing at the
Oh,
time.
wow.
It was from a whole nother vehicle. So we're definitely seeing a lot of those evidence that are left behind. And it's just on a case by case basis.
I'm really surprised by that because I know that, I mean, car guys complain all the time, especially with the newer cars, that those, the electronics and those computers, they're so fidgety. I didn't think you could move them from one to another without some serious programming, it if you could do it at all.
Specified is just a telematics unit in whole that what that was removed from another vehicle, and it was recovered at the recovered vehicle that we were processing. They're removing that whole telematics unit from wherever it is in the vehicle. So those are some of the things that we're recovering from vehicles.
Right. I was going to mention there was a point when we were looking for USB wires in subject pockets, right? Because for a while, what they were doing is that they were using the USB wires to kind of start certain
Oh, yeah,
Kias,
yeah.
and it just kind of acted like a key. So if you want to talk about a device they get creative, that was something that if you found it in someone's pocket, you're like, wait, what are you doing with this? Let me
Perfect.
let me
It's
just take a
perfect.
look
Yep.
at you.
People were also
Yes.
programming through the headlights. I know that too. They were
Yes.
using the headlights.
Mercedes.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I've done a lot of studying of that. I really enjoy the whole hacking stuff, and I've been really into that, which is why Joe makes fun of me. I mean, I have hacking toys and USB cables that if I gave it to you, I'll get all your technology off your phone. I mean, we do that. We do sometimes little episodes about some of these hacking devices because people are not aware. They don't know that you can walk into a place and get all your information stolen. I'm just surprised, Eugene and Maria, that you have not found yet somebody with a beautiful laptop, with a really expensive technology, being able to like get that 250, $300,000 car. Because I know they're out there, but those are more specialized. Those are really sophisticated crews.
Yeah.
Those are
Yeah.
found
Exactly
more
that.
with search warrants will get you those. Search warrants will get you those,
All
not
right, let
Oh,
me
really
go.
on the
really?
field
Let me
or
go hide them
yeah.
then. Think of it this way: I go on the field of my regular
Boy.
job, and I'm
Uh-huh.
carrying my bags. I could probably be mistaken for somebody who's looking to steal cars because I have a lot of technology on me. So I should be very careful. You know.
So someone might just stop you, Adam, and just go, "What are you doing with all these things in your pocket? Let's
Yeah.
figure you out really quick." It's not a bad thing. You're very, very aware. That some people are very, but some are not aware of the technology that's out there.
Yeah.
And keeping up with it is really the key to either preventing it or solving it. And that's what we're trying to do with Autoscope.
That's a good question for Maria and Eugene. How do you guys keep up? Because obviously every month there's something new. You guys have to be like on top of it. You got to be researching. You got to be looking at OEMs. You got to looking at manufacturers because your product has to keep up with it, and that's a daunting
Yeah.
task.
Absolutely. I definitely got to give a huge shout outs to our team. Our team is pretty good. We're a team of four right now. We have somebody who's always handling the admin aspect of Autoscope. We have somebody who's always handling the technology aspect, and then you have Maria, who's a great co-founder, and she's tackling every issue. So it's definitely the team. I gotta say.
I don't know. Maria scares me a little bit. When I reached out to her for the podcast, I felt like I was being like investigated. If I knew you, if I knew Eugene, you existed first, I probably would have reached out to you first.
Oh boy. Well, so
I got I
it's
got hits in
it's
my
good to get to know
profiles, hits
That's
people.
in my background. I'm like, whoa.
that's why she's our co-founder. Yep, that's it.
Well,
Cool.
to point out the technology and what we're noticing, there was something interesting that we've noticed recently in one of our recoveries. It was, I believe, in Georgia. There was a vehicle that caught fire, that they were tracking. They obviously connected with Autoscope. I'm not going to mention the department. They connected with Autoscope, and while it was in the middle of a forest, caught on fire, it pinged to that location. So that tells me that the OEMs are getting better with their technology. But I mean, to have a vehicle catch fire and for us to still ping it, to me, that's
Oh, that's great.
incredible.
And and that,
Yes.
here's the parallel, Joe. Think of this, Joe. The parallel is we just lost a pilot in another country. They jettisoned out of their airplane, and their beacon was able to locate them. Kind of the same with the cars, right? You
Hmm.
know, they're in a
Yep.
different place and they recovered. You like that
Well,
parallel, right?
Very good
yeah,
It's pretty
parallel,
good.
Adam.
I like you slipping in the current events. Yeah, but the military stuff is a little bit ruggedized.
Obviously
I,
not.
I,
Look at
I
that.
don't
It caught
I don't think
fire.
a, I don't think a 2020 Civic is designed to be ejected out of an F-16
It
and
caught
still,
fire and
still
it
work.
still pinged. I was trying to help you guys. I'm just trying to help, man. I was proud to hear about your car catching fire and still pinging.
Well, the thing is that there's something that we came up with. It was just like, you could burn down the vehicle, but you can't burn the data. The data is always available,
Oh, in
even
the
if it's
cloud,
just
right?
on the cloud. So you can't burn that data. That data is always made available. And I think that's one of our strongest points is that we can still track a vehicle, even if the vehicle's been burned down, melted down. We could still get that last ping, and we could still track that vehicle.
So the manufacturer, the car companies, they're storing everything that goes up. They have
They're
access to.
essentially, yeah, they're storing it, and the
They
way
are
that the application or the telematics, you can still get a last GPS ping. We can still get that. So
okay. Let me ask you this then, because this also has to do with current events. Even if you don't have the subscription, because I remember that case of the lady in
The ring camera.
Arizona
Yeah,
who
yeah.
went missing. Yeah, she had a I think was it a ring or a Nest camera, whichever, and they said, oh, she didn't
mhm.
have the subscription, so they didn't have it, and it ended up Google had it. You know,
Of course, you can still track it. I mean, Google's a way bigger company. We're still, working for the OEMs, and that's why we do it through the connected service. So we need consent in order to track a vehicle, and that's
oh,
Autoscope
you get in
specific.
through. Oh, you get in through
Yes,
the. Oh,
that's
okay,
pretty
I
much
Yes.
got
the
it. All
yes,
right.
that's the authorization aspect where it's just like OEMs pretty much said, in order for you to access this data, they have to have connected service, and we need some type of proof that these owners are the owner of the cars, and the only person who's going to have that is the owner of the car. So that's our consent based design. So it's a centralized system. You pretty much onboard your vehicle through the connected service aspect of the OEM apps,
Oh, that's
and
cool.
that's
That's
how
an
we do.
API.
Yeah,
And who
but
better to verify someone's identity or whether or not they own a vehicle than law enforcement, right? Right on the field. So just to give you a quick scenario, Eugene just pretty much gave a great scenario, but just to give you a more in-depth scenario. So if you have an officer that answers a 911 call, stolen vehicle, stolen out of a driveway, he gets to the owner's house, vehicle stolen. All right, ma'am, do you have a connected service application? Do you have Mercedes? Let's give an example for that. Um, they'll ask, would you let us get access to your vehicle data? Do you have a username and password? That data then gets transferred into Autoscope. The officer has the Autoscope application. And when the owner of the vehicle gives permission to the officer, then the officer logs it into our database, and the other officers that have access to Autoscope also have that data. So Officer B and C and D that are in other jurisdictions or other sectors can also see that there's a stolen vehicle nearby if it's close enough to them. So The consent's very important, especially today. Data is a very touchy subject, people's privacy, and whether or not, we're being watched, right? That's like a very hot topic right now. So we take that very seriously.
Oh, wow, it's a great business model. Basically, what you were doing is ingesting the data centrally, and if the adjoining law enforcement agencies within that perimeter, that area, as you move into one law enforcement agency to another, they can still pick up that information. So if it's out of their jurisdiction, the next, so if you're going from A law enforcement to B law enforcement, and A doesn't want to go pursue into B, or they're not allowed to, B can then pursue it then. Oh, wow.
Right. Yes, and that's the whole point, and that's why we saw that problem. It was a problem that if an officer takes a report for a stolen vehicle and the vehicle's 10 miles from the officer and it's in the next precinct or the next, for example, if it's in Manhattan and it goes to Jersey, that's a different state. The officer's not going to go to Jersey. So if the officers have Autoscope, they can see that there's a vehicle stolen nearby them and they can take action.
Now, wait a minute here. I mean, I get that, and that works, but how did we get into this situation? I mean, it's not like cars are new, and it's not like Jersey and New York have been different states for a week and a half. You mean it has always been this hard to, track down a car that's been stolen and to get the law enforcement to come after it?
Well, from what we've gathered looking at the National Insurance Crime Bureau data, the clearance rate for auto theft is less than 8%. 3% in 2024.
Are you kidding me?
She came armed with facts, Joe.
Yes, I did.
Wow. Oh my God.
Yes, it's very,
I hear these things. I just hear my insurance going up and up with all these things.
So we have two problems, Joe.
This is
We have
why.
we have a technology problem that's trying to be solved now. It just has to be a proliferation across more people to ingest it. And then you also have kind of a jurisdictional issue. Like we know that the bridges between New York and New Jersey are actually monitored by a multi-state agency, similar to what our friend does with MTA. But if you're not a multi-jurisdictional stuff, yes, for certain things you can trace into another jurisdiction, but rarely. So technology has to solve this for now, not the other way around.
So my question would be, with what you're saying, for instance, if a perpetrator took off their license plates of the vehicle, how would you track it then?
Their phone.
Their
Sorry.
phone?
I'm kidding.
If they're nearby, right? So the reason the reason Eugene's asking that question is because that's how law enforcement is tracking vehicles today.
Yes,
It's through
LPR.
license plate readers. Yes. But what happens when they take it off? And that's the first thing they do is take off the plate. You can't really track it. And what better than what's already built into the car?
Yeah, and built into the car to the point where with the newer ones, especially those fancy Mercedes and BMWs, the thing won't start at all unless all that stuff is turned on. Now, that's clever. Okay.
And you
That's
can
cool.
they take out the license plate, they take out the Easy Pass because that can be tracked too. They know. They're carrying probably little plastic bags that you put the Easy Pass in and you can't even
I'm
find
so
it and they throw it out
obsessed
the window.
with the Faraday bags. But
Because the Faraday bags are important, Joe. Meanwhile, this is a guy, when I used to work for him, sent me to Las Vegas and told me to bring a burner phone.
Wow.
Well,
he was
A burner
going
phone.
to Black Hat, that is the biggest hacker convention in the world, where they have like a board up that shows you all the hacked phones of everyone in the room. So I'm like, yeah, don't bring your phone. But in any case, well, that is really interesting how you're using technology to solve some non-technology problems, which is very cool. The other thing I can't stop thinking about is how in the world did you get all the car companies on board with this and have them give you the access? I would think they are very, very protective of that data and who has access to
Part
it.
of our trade secret, Joe. It's part of our trade
You
secret.
see, that's the secret. The rest is all like, yeah,
There's
you can do
probably
it.
an SDK
That's the
program.
secret.
it's probably
Okay.
SDK.
All right.
But so
We
I have
just
a
gave
question.
Adam some homework right now. He's gonna
No,
be like,
I'm
"I gotta
not
figure
doing
this
it.
out."
Adam, get on this.
I got other homework.
Adam's
to
very
do.
charming.
Yeah, I have other homework to do. I'm not gonna do that. But so let me ask you this, Maria and Eugene.
Yes.
you've recovered cars. I already asked you about technology that you've recovered. You ever recover a kid in the car because of this, or a car was? Because I know this happens even in Staten Island. Like there's a kid in the back seat. Parent left the car running. They thought the door was locked. Kid's gone. They're flipping out. Have you ever any human beings recovered yet?
So there has been, it's actually been on the news. There was actually a mother. She was driving around with her kid in the back seat, and they used the connected service application to actually track the vehicle. And that vehicle with the kid in the back was tracked in under an hour.
Thank
Officers went
God.
on scene. They asked a bunch of questions, and pretty much she had connected service. I believe she was driving an Acura at the time. It was a newer model too. Usually the newer models already come with connected service applications already activated. In this particular scenario, the officers were able to connect to the vehicle through the connected service app, track the vehicle, recover the vehicle with the child in the back. I think once the perpetrator realized there was a child in the back, that's when they just, they pretty much just left.
We have actually had a few agencies inquire about what's called silver alerts and amber alerts.
Hmm.
We're currently working on um, getting our application to also immisce that into the notifications. It just depends on the jurisdiction. We really have to make sure that the jurisdiction allows for us to do that. Every jurisdiction is different. Jersey's different, Connecticut's different, Georgia's different, Florida's different. So we are currently working on that because that is something that's very important.
So one of my closest friends, they have a kid that has. I'll leave it at medical issues, and obviously they get these belts and they get these body worn devices that tracks them. And I remember maybe about 10 years ago, the kid walked out of the school in Long Island City, and then he ended up drowning in the water not too far away. So that makes sense, right? You can do silver alerts if they have devices that track them. You can do amber alerts for kids that might be tracked. But and for the kids that have disabilities, you might be able to ingest all this information and expand your autoscope to also help recover people are what's I don't know, the word's not compromised, but don't have the ability to take care of themselves. That's a
Mhm.
better word for it.
Absolutely.
That sounds good.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's exactly what we're looking to evolve into. Pretty much be, the connected service aspect of all devices that has a network where we can pretty much deploy data to law enforcement.
And animals
Um,
too, right? Because in my
Animals
neighborhood,
too.
Animals
Yeah,
too.
literally,
absolutely.
Yeah.
yeah,
Absolutely.
a neighborhood and next door, I lost a white poodle. I lost a black pit bull. I
Absolutely.
lost, and that's one of the biggest things I see posted. That
Absolutely.
animals.
Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
makes part of the business sense that you guys are talking about.
Absolutely.
That it
By the
Absolutely.
way, I want to
does.
be a
Well,
25% partner. Let's talk about it.
yeah.
Let's talk, Adam. Let's
Well, I,
talk.
I knew a guy who had to track his wife because, like, he was pretty sure she was cheating on him, and he bought one of those GPS things, and he said that was expensive. I'm sure you guys can
You
undercut
could have
that.
bought $100 prepaid cell phone, stuck it under
It's not that; it's the service.
You don't need the service. All you need to do is log into the app. I'm being funny, but look, for more of an organized thing. So that's from one person. What they're talking about is enterprise. They're talking about crowdsourcing with multiple law enforcement agents. Obviously, you could do it for $100, but that's not going to give you the reach that you need. You want to be able to track it from New York City to Newark to Patterson to Philadelphia
To
to.
Mexico. We actually
I
have
didn't
that in
say
Texas
Mexico.
right now.
Ah.
We actually have that right now. We have a few vehicles from Texas that have been tracked to Mexico. Um, what that tells us is that it's more organized theft, meaning, they're kind of taking the vehicles and kind of trying to put them into shipping containers. That's a very common thing in both borders, really. We've talked to Ontario. They have a very similar problem. They have a lot of cars that go out of Canada and they get shipped out east. And Mexico, obviously, you can tell they have a similar problem.
Oh, Mexico, that's boring. You ever find any cars like, in Eastern Europe or like Abu Dhabi or something?
We're waiting for that.
You got to get one
We're
of
waiting
those.
for
That's got to
that.
happen eventually, like a
So,
Koenigsegg or something
so
like that.
Joe, let's check this out. Let's get Autoscope. Let's get one license. let's turn around and take the GPS and spoof it to like I don't know, to like Iraq and let it come up as stolen.
Oh boy,
Make
that's
it
gonna
show
be
up at your
some
enemy's house.
notification.
Like, yeah, like swat
Well,
someone with the
yeah,
thing.
that's
That
horrible.
can't be
So I
good.
don't even say that.
No, no, do that. We'd never advocate that. Um, okay, so I also have to say here that with all of this, we're talking about this because it's an interesting technology and we like stuff like that. But this is not sponsored or anything. Of course, you guys can feel free to sponsor a future episode if you'd like. I'd be
Of
happy
course.
to accommodate you.
Yes.
But okay, so you've got the car companies on board, the connected services, and you talk about some jurisdictions that have it and some don't. How do I find out? It's like it's not going to work in my car, but my wife's car is actually newer.
Mhm.
How do we know like how good the town is on auto theft if they're plugged into something like you or if they have arrangements and everything? Because I mean, in my town, I live in a nice town and it's got a mall, so cars are getting stolen constantly. But
Oh,
I
I
actually
hate
don't
that
know what the
mall.
recovery rate is. If it's 8%, I'll be God. That's horrible. You know, I
Mhm.
mean,
That's a nationwide number. It really depends on municipality, and it depends how they give that information to their citizens. California has a way of doing it. New York has a way of doing it. It might be very different in middle states. They might have just a local website where you can check. But the National Insurance Crime Bureau, it's typically the website you go on and it gives you national numbers.
no, I'm not going to get anything out of New Jersey, please. They won't tell you like what time the office closes. What,
He lives near a mall where they, valet the cars. So let's just say that.
Now he's throwing shots fired at you, Joe.
yeah, I guess. Well, we actually had something really bad a couple of years ago at that mall. In
Oh
fact,
yeah, yeah, they got killed,
there
right?
was a carjacking where a guy actually got killed, which was
Oh
Not
wow.
not
surprised.
good.
Uh,
Yeah, it was really bad. But talking about happier things here, hopefully. Okay, so I hope my town has this if my wife's car gets stolen. Mine, I'm screwed. It's too old. Okay.
Joe, just reach out to Marie Eugene, give them the chief of police for your town, and they'll reach out to them.
of
There you
course.
go. There you go,
Yeah.
Joe.
I don't want the chief of police to know my name or anything about it. No good can come of that. So we try to be a little practical here too. So maybe we're getting a little bit outside the bounds of your particular technology. But you know, someone like me, I worry about my cars getting stolen. I'm very attached to them. How do I keep my car from getting stolen, or at least, as we would say, manage the risk or minimize the risk? For real, what works these days and what doesn't? Because the stuff I know is probably from 20 years ago. I'm probably doing everything wrong.
So with my vehicles, I have immobilizers.
You
I
do.
think immobilizer is probably the best choice if you're trying to prevent. Immobilizers are costly, but they do come in handy. If a perpetrator has the duplicate key fob, tries to go to your vehicle and tries to start it, it won't work. So I do think immobilizer are probably your best bet.
So what do they cost roughly? I have no clue.
I've paid $1,200 for my immobilizer. And maybe you can get one that's cheaper, but it all depends on quality.
Define
So
mobilizer for people who don't know. I'm sorry.
so pretty much it keeps the vehicle from turning on if it's intercepted or hijacked. There's a specific type of computer chip that's installed in the vehicle in the you could say within the telematics of the vehicle, and it pretty much keeps it from turning on, and enabling perps to remove the vehicle from a home or a garage or etc.
People are side loading that stuff too these days. They're modifying the firmware so that people can't do stuff. Does that sound right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Technology is just evolving at such a rapid pace. I do think a mobilizer can be breached, but it all depends on what software, what technology that you have in hand in order to do so.
what I tell people who have really expensive cars, because I utilize my security background. And I tell people, look, if you're not home, that's a different story, and you have to use different pieces of equipment. If you're home and you have an expensive car and you're worried about it, get a pneumatic bollard. Dig a hole in your driveway, put the bollard in the ground, hit the garage button, comes up. No one's gonna sit there and try to figure that out unless
Are
your
you
car.
serious?
Yes, they do that.
Joe, it sounds like you should be asking Adam how to keep your car safe.
Well,
Wait,
Adam has a lot of. I can tell you, Adam has a lot of plans to secure my house. He's like, you need cameras, you need this. I added up his wish list of everything, and I'm like, I'd have to sell one of my cars to get
Meanwhile,
it.
I have
Believe
all
me,
this,
that's
except I don't have
what
a bollard.
Adam does.
Eugene made a face. Am I wrong about the bollard? Do you think or no?
I mean, if you can afford it, absolutely go right ahead.
I'm
I
talking
think
about I'm talking about the people in my neighborhood that have $250,000, $300,000 cars in my neighborhood. So I
wow.
don't have it. I don't have that.
I
Look,
They're not
mean,
leaving them outside, are they?
so if you let's just put it this way, it's Staten Island, not necessarily my direct neighborhood. It's a neighborhood up closer to New Jersey. People are driving 150, 175, $200,000 cars.
hmm
Their houses are probably 3 times the size of my house,
hmm
and they can afford a bollard that goes into the ground pneumatically. I mean, if you have a car that much, I'm sure you can afford to put a
Yeah.
bollard in the ground.
yeah. I think what it
Okay.
is that.
Well, if I'm not willing to undergo excavation or get building permits for my house, and I don't want to spend $1,200, that's a little too pricey. What's a simpler and cheaper things? Well, what are the best practices these days?
Let's ask what are you doing currently, Joe? What do you do to keep your car safe right
In that Porsche.
I have,
What do you
well,
have in that Porsche?
that car fortunately is inside in the garage, which I'm sure someone could open. But that's probably the best security, biggest thing there. And I keep it locked in there, which people may think I'm paranoid, but yeah, I set the alarm so it'll wake me up. But it's for cars outside too. I mean, cars out in the driveway when they're out there. I don't have a barbed wire fence around my house
Do
or
you know how
anything.
do you know how easy it is to replay a garage? You could just buy a regular garage opener and then stand outside in your car, and then when somebody opens it, you just hit the record button, and then you can play it back. It's that simple.
Thank you.
Adam's
You're making me
got
feel
the
so much better.
gadgets.
I know.
He's
I
got the
know.
It's not even a gadget; it's a regular device.
Right.
All right, let's go back to the bollard. You don't even need a pneumatic one. Just open the cement, put it in. It's $75, and then you put a bollard in.
Okay.
How about the plain old? I got my car parked outside in the driveway. What's the best thing to do besides? I mean, obviously not leave the keys in it, right? I guess.
The cheaper route is probably put an AirTag. You can put an AirTag. The problem comes
Oh,
is when a perpetrator, who has an Apple phone gets in the car, they get a notification that says, "Hey, there's an Apple AirTag in the back," and they go through the car, they take it, they find it, and they just toss it out the window. We see that time and time again.
Oh, really?
So
So that's
time
okay.
and time again.
So that doesn't work.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Exactly.
Joe,
So
yeah. As I said, Joe, prepaid T-Mobile phone, $100 a month. Put it under the spare tire in the back. They can't see it, and you can always log in and track it.
that could
Well,
work.
we're also talking about prevention, right, Joe? So
Yeah.
a
This
few
is
things
prevention
that
too. Yeah.
right, a few things that people could do is number one, don't leave your key by your front door. Try to put your key fob maybe second floor, back of the house, opposite end of where your car is outside, especially for Staten Island residents, right?
In a Faraday bag. In a
I was
Faraday
going to
bag.
say that is
There you
one
go.
thing that would actually be a good use of a Faraday bag, I guess.
They have
Yeah,
a
okay,
Faraday-
fair enough.
Joe, they have a Faraday key holder for every car. You just put it in there, zip it in, and it's done.
Okay, you know what, Adam? I think I've gotten a business idea. I think we need to get some security cocktail hour official car key Faraday bags made up.
Maybe
Get
we
it
go.
trademarked right away.
Joe, no, we don't have to get a trademark, but Joe, we can actually co-sponsor it with them. We can make one with both logos on and go half.
I'm always, I'm
I'm all for it,
Okay,
Adam.
great. All right, so Faraday Bay, or keep the fob, keep it locked and keep the fob far away, so you
You
don't
can
get
use
the
our
There you
recoil.
go.
logo, Autoscope
Okay,
logo, Faraday
There
bag,
you
Autoscope
go.
Faraday bag.
all right.
And
Perfect.
also don't leave anything of value, even if it's just a dollar bill in your center console, because people just get the wrong idea. Maybe fake jewelry that you just happen to leave there, some earrings or something that kind of catches someone's eye. They say, oh, let me see what else is in there. There's opportunists out there too, not just professional car thieves. There are more opportunists actually than professional car thieves. So that's really
Yeah.
who you're trying to
Really?
rent it from.
Okay.
Yes.
Amazon makes a dash cam that automatically uploads the video constantly from the car from motion.
Hmm.
Yes.
Yep.
If
Quite a
people,
few companies are
if
doing that. Yeah.
right, if you do have a dash cam, I recommend whoever gets it, it's not worth it unless you get a cloud service for it. Because the perpetrators who know to take the dash cam, they know to take the SD card from the base. If they take the dash cam, they're going to take that SD card. And whatever footage you hope to get of the perpetrator, you're not going to get it. Yes.
Okay. Well, God, now I'm nervous. Now I
Yes.
got to tighten things up. No, but it's fine. Well, thank you. We're about at time, so thank you so much for coming and giving us your tips. But also, this is a fascinating technology you've got together. I think it is quite clever and quite a good use because, like I say, man, preventing car theft or recovering stolen cars. God bless you both. You're doing God's
Thank
work.
you.
So
Thank you.
Maria Nugent,
And
why don't you tell us the website so that if people listening can hear it?
well, I was
And
just about to get into that. Just if any law enforcement personnel is listening to this, they're free to email us at info@autoscope.io and make a request to get our application and see how they like it. And also our website, info.autoscope.io.
You've got a .io, so you guys you're hip. That's cool. All right.
Yes.
Okay. Adam, your parting thought?
My parting thought is that fortunately there's technology out there that can help recover cars. The more it's proliferated into the environment or into society, it's easier to help. But like I said, people have to start getting smart. The people I've been. I know it sounds horrible, and people are going to get mad at me. People are getting complacent. They're not understanding that technology is out there to help them, but it's also out there to hurt them. So you got to get ahead of it. You got to get technology to help you. You got to secure your equipment and make sure that you put things in place before it happens. Not don't react. Be proactive.
there you go.
Yes. Well said. Well said.
Okay. Well, thank you both for joining. We've had a great time. I learned a lot, scary as it is,
Thank you.
but always helps us improve the state of things. Adam, as always, it's been fun. And thanks everyone for listening. All
Thank
right.
you.
All right.
Thank
Bye
you.
everyone.
Have a
Thank
good
you
one.
guys.
Bye.
Take care. Be safe.